cream of the pool, best of the best, will rise to the top, all the way. It's the cream of the pool.
Hey, wow, I'm back. Wow, who could have guessed? Episode 4. Wow, it only took, I don't know, a year or two. I don't know how long it's been. Hey, I'm back. Because I got this book and I wanted to talk about it. Because I wanted to talk about this artist. And a book is the best way to do that. Although there's, the book covers a very small portion of Eduard Thöny. I think it's how it's pronounced, Thöny. He was an artist in Germany from, I think his career kind of spanned from 1890s to like 1944. That's an interesting date. That'll come up later. But he worked for this, I think basically the whole time he worked for this kind of humor magazine called Simplicissimus. Simplicissimus. There it is. I got it eventually. I'm not even sure what it means. I'm guessing something simple. But anyways, I ran across his work a long time ago, and I don't know in what context. But then a little while after that, I think I saw a Muddy Colors article by Francis Vallejo, and it was him talking about it. Talking about how George Pratt actually introduced him to him. And so I was just, and there's a bunch of stuff on that post. I'll link it in the thing below, but there's a bunch of images in there that don't appear in this book because this book is, very limited, because he did like in his career, like something like over 2,000 illustrations, which is kind of crazy. I mean, I guess not if you're like doing everything with AI, but if you're doing it by hand, it's pretty crazy, and you'll see what I mean. Anyways, I've kind of marked some of the pages that I wanted to specifically look at, but this is kind of this is what the opening page would look like, the cover, and like I said, he kind of worked from the very beginning of the magazine, which is I think 1890 something. And he just has a very interesting style that I want to talk about. And I want to talk about also some of the things that the book shows that I think online I did not see and did not notice, because I think just the quality, some of these look like scans or very good pictures of the pieces, and so you get to see certain things that you wouldn't see online, which is unfortunate, but so it goes. So one of the things I want to talk about is, first of all, his caricature work is excellent. It's just very good, and we'll see more of it as it goes. Another thing that he's very good at is textures, which, again, we're going to see a lot more. But another thing that I specifically love is this kind of stuff is seeing the process. So I can actually see that he drew these two things, two characters on separate sheets of paper. And you can see there's a line here that goes right here and then down. And then not only did he draw the two characters separately, which means he probably drew them and then felt like it wasn't good enough, so he redrew it on a different piece of paper, but he specifically didn't like the shoes on it either. So that's yet another piece of paper, which is just a really cool kind of thing that I love seeing. This is one of the things why I like seeing original comic art, for example, is so wonderful. So if you ever get a chance to go see like an exhibition of original comics of any sort, I think the Billy Ireland Museum, if you can check that out, where is it, in Boston or something? Anyways, it has like a ton of stuff, and it has like Calvin and Hobbes pages and stuff like that, so you can see those up close, which is amazing. Another cover. Obviously, he worked with ink a lot. I actually had to go through and kind of figure out. In the book is in German, so I had to like translate what the materials were. In the back there's a catalog and kind of says what the pieces, each piece was kind of made with. And here's the list if you want to cheat. But basically ink, and this is obviously ink. This looks like a split brush kind of technique, which is kind of like a dry brush kind of technique, but split brush is more sharp, I would say. So you get really nice kind of sharp lines and like, again, a really nice texture. And it almost seems like, you know, like an etching or something, which I really like. Again, really good caricature stuff happening. Really good just background stuff. And some of this stuff I'm not even sure how it's done. Like some of this, it almost seems like a lithograph, but I'm not sure if that's just, I'm not sure. But like, look at all these textures, right? Like the separations. Let's see, what's the next one? Oh yeah, amazing. This is, I love this piece. It's just like, you can see kind of the background here is some sort of a gesso or some sort of paint that has a texture. He's specifically added that in. And he often uses white to cut the shapes, you know, so he'll like paint kind of loosely and then he'll cut sharp shapes. But just the amount of textures here looks like splatter. And he's going both white and black. So this is, he goes in black and then has white splatter on top. Just really nice. And it has like almost like, because of all the noise that he's giving the piece, it has a very almost photographic feel to it, which is really nice, especially when you reproduce it in a magazine or something. Again, really great caricature stuff happening. I really, you know, like, I'm sure none of this explains like what the piece is, but I don't know, you know, you need context for all that. This one, again, like, it's probably pencil, but it looks so lithographic. So like a soft pencil. And then like, you can tell kind of the paper maybe has turned really yellow. And so the white where he was cleaning up or trying to cut things out is now really sharp now. Let's see, let's go to the next one. Again, this is another example of that. Maybe I'll try to get closer. You can see the lines where he's put these characters together. Like they were not all drawn together, so he basically was like, you know, like he knew like maybe he got a good one character, he got it good, and then he was like, oh, this one's not, the other one that's not so good. So he just drew it on a different piece of paper and kept going. Yeah, again, you can see the line here, you know, because he liked this one character, but, you know, but again, really great. Just drawing, his drawing is really, really top notch. I love these long kind of panels. And this is all for magazines, so, you know, I'm sure there were like places where he needed to fill. Let's see here. Again, this is maybe I don't think this is a scan. This looks very kind of maybe a photo. So it's a little more fuzzy, but again, has that almost photographic feel to it, which just because of so much noise. And also, again, you can see how much like he's using reference, obviously, because look at the hands and look at like stuff. Certain stuff looks really good, right? And then certain stuff is caricature. Like here, like look at those faces, like an amazing, like that. That's just, I can study that face for days, right? Like just look at that face, amazing. Or that face, oh, it's so good. Like really funny, but then like he draws stuff like super well. Like he's capturing that tree really well. That tree, you know, that horse. He's not kidding. You know, he's like really drew a horse, not like a joke horse. Great. This one is really amazing too. I love how simple it is. Like the textures here. For example, the hair, like it's just very rough. Looks like pencil, or it could be what here is described as grease chalk, Fettkreide. But I'm guessing it's something like this, which is a China marker, which is basically just a very, it gives you this really rough texture. even like this is like a smooth paper, but it still gives you this really rough, and like fast texture, which is really cool. But imagine now that if the paper was more rough, right, you'd get even more exaggerated texture, which is really fun. And then again, he's cutting in with white at the very end to like kind of define things and bring them out. And this right here, the lace, right, like that looks amazing. It's so simple, right, like it's dabs of paint basically, but it reads perfectly as lace. Like you look at it and you're like, oh, that's lace. But then you look at it close and it's like, there's almost nothing there, like it's like, let me see if I can get a light on it. It's just like dabs. It's like he's obviously referencing, like you can see like these motifs of like plants and stuff, but it's just very well done. And, again, let's see, let's go, this one. Oh yeah, this one. I love this one so much. He did that a couple of times where he just like loses the line, right? It's lost line, where there's just like the blue is just one thing. And he wasn't the only one that did that. There were like many artists that were doing similar stuff, fine artists and otherwise, but he just like, it's just a very like, again, this is all very simple, but like perfect. Like you can even see the pencil in here still, right? Like in the marks. And you can see how good of a draftsman he is based on like these lines, right? Like how kind of fast and few they are, but like perfect. And then one of my favorite things about this piece is where you can see perfectly where he's like used different textures, where he's probably masked off one area, splattered it to get a certain tone, right? This looks the same as this, but he masked this off and then did this separately, right? Or did this first and then did this. You can see, see the little line. And then he maybe brings in like a little bit of white or something to clean things up. But it's just, very, I don't know, I just really love it. It's really, like feels fast and inspirational, but it's like also like he's going back and forth. Like it's not like he just gets to the final product right away. It's another one where he's pasted in here. You can see it even better here, where that paper has turned really, really yellow up here. And so it's created this sharp line. But that's where like, where he used like some slightly different technique or something, a different pencil, whatever. But it's like these two characters were not actually together. He pasted them together. And paste ups are a very comics thing, so I'm like very much like familiar with that stuff, and it's just cool to see somebody in illustration using it, because what you're doing and what you were doing back then and even now, it's like you're working for print, you're not working for the original, so he wasn't really thinking about the original necessarily as much as like what is going to look like in print. Again, really nice. This is like a Gibson girl, which is kind of funny. I love this. There's so much texture. It's so much noise, right? Like it's great. Like just, like I think he's masking it, or like maybe he's doing like a white afterwards. Like he does this, goes in with ink, splatters, and then goes in with white, and then splatters a little more, just to like bring this so it's not white, and then once more with white over top to like give the highlight. I'm not exactly sure, but that's what it kind of feels like to me, because this line is so sharp, and I don't think that he would be using tape at the time, which is like, like early 1900s. Let's see here. Oh, here it is, and here's a page of just the little, individual pieces of paper. He just drew little characters and then probably pasted them. Maybe he needed like a crowd scene or something. He was like, well, I'm not going to draw them all the way I want on one piece of paper, so he just drew them separately and then just probably could glue them together if he needed to. I think there's one of them was described as parts glued on, tile
Aufgeklebt.
I can't speak German. Anyways, a couple other things used opaque white, which could be like gouache or maybe oils, but probably gouache because gouache makes a lot more sense to work fast. Opaque colors again, probably gouache. Pencil, grease chalk, as I mentioned, probably this. Oil pastels, which are color version of this basically, but more so. Ink on grid paper. I'm not sure what that means exactly. Grid paper, Rastapapier, coal, charcoal, obviously. There's a lot of that. Gives that another texture. And then color pencil, watercolor. Yeah. So, anyways, very very cool stuff. Really really inspirational. Again, so much noise, right? Like so much. Just like it has that, it looks like a photo, but obviously a drawing. So it's like this combination of like, you're like, oh wow, he really referenced something, but like he also just captured like a moment. Actually, this reminds me of Käthe Kollwitz, who I think also maybe contributed to this magazine, interestingly enough. But don't quote me on that. I feel like I saw a video that had work from this Simplicissimus magazine, and Käthe Kollwitz work was there, which is interesting, especially when you then consider that later on, obviously, once Germany turned a certain direction, this magazine kept going, and so their themes changed, and unfortunately, subject matter changed, because of course it couldn't exist and not change at that time. Yeah, I really love seeing this kind of stuff. This one is crazy. This one is like so much like, it's just from top to bottom paste ups, right? Like all these lines, this is all cutouts, right? Like he was just like, nope, I don't like this. I'm changing the head. I don't like this guy. I don't like this. There's a cut there. There's a cuts. These are both cuts, so both of them are not on this paper. They're from a different paper. It's just kind of amazing, right? Like you can see right here, two lines. So, and then the paper underneath. So it's just, yeah. You're just trying to get it done. You're trying to get it to a good place, something that's visually interesting and tells whatever the story is. And yeah, the book is, I wish I could read German. There's a lot of, looks like history about the magazine maybe. Looks like 1896. I guess this maybe covers that era, 1896 to 1914. And then there's a little bit about the pieces. There's a catalog in the back. Pictures of him. There he is as an old dude. Yeah, I don't know, just interesting stuff. And I just wanted to share it. And this book actually wasn't as expensive as I thought it would be. It came from Germany. But other than that, it was, and there's a lot of it. Like I said, there's like over 2,000 of his pieces that you can find online. And I recommend looking at the article from Muddy Colors just to see some more pieces. It's just really good stuff. And if you're looking for somebody to inspire you, and actually not Boris Vallejo, the other Vallejo, mentioned Eduard Kinsella is another person that is very much like keeping some of this stuff going, some of these textures and these kind of ideas going. And he's also, I found out recently that he might be a teacher to one of my friends now in St. Louis, which is interesting. I did not know that. That was news to me, but cool. Anyways, all right, that's it. I'm going to move on. Bye. So this is postscript. I realized that I needed to say this because I don't know if I've said it before. There's a channel that I used to watch quite a bit called Cartoonist Kayfabe. It's Jim Rugg and Piscor, or Piscor, and I really I enjoyed it. They comic book guys talking about comics. One of the things that they would do is share books, and I of course enjoyed it. But what would happen is they would share a book, and then everybody that watched, and in the beginning it was like, not that many people, and then it became more and more people. Everybody would buy the book, and it fucked shit up. Like it's like a kayfabe bump, I think it was called, something like that. But and if they were talking about a book or like an artist that was printing books right now and needed the help, then yes, that would be awesome and that would be really helpful. But they don't do that very often. They do that once in a while. Often what they're talking about are books that are out of print, are rare, are hard to find, are, unique. And I get it. To me, this is unique. And I have unique books that I've bought over the years, but I think there is a kind of obsession about collecting and the value of it, and I have it. I have it sometimes. Sometimes I have this FOMO attitude where I'm just like, oh man, I don't have this book. I'm still upset that I wasn't able to get the Brian Boland artist edition of Judge Dredd. That's one of my favorite artists, and I would have loved to have that book, and I just never. I didn't have the money at the time, and now it's $500, so it's out of reach for me as a regular person who doesn't have $500 ever for anything. In fact, I have negative money, but anyways, I think there's a problem there where there's an obsession with it, and there's this idea that you get the right books, then you will be inspired the right way, or you will find out the secrets or something. And it's very similar to the pursuit of self-help, for example, where I used to also be into that because I didn't feel great, and I still don't, but I would actively pursue it. I would read books or audiobooks or, get inspired by videos or whatever. And I think in the end, I found that they didn't know what the fuck they were talking about. And they were helpful along the way. They would, once in a while, there would be a quote that was did something in the moment. And it all, and it keeps you, it gives you the high, right? It gives you the dopamine hit. It's oh yeah, I get it now. But it never really fixed the thing. It never really fixed the problem. And neither will these books, right? You can buy this book, and I don't know how many there are. Maybe it's not even that rare, which, then it's fine. And I don't have any fans, which is also fine. But what if someday I become famous? And that would be unlikely, but what if I do? And then suddenly you go back in time, you're watching this video years from now, and you're like, whoa, check out this book. I got to get this book. And this book is now not available because everybody bought it. But why did you buy it? I think it's worth thinking about that. Did you buy it just to have it? Or is it going to sit on your shelf? Are you actually learning from it? Are you actually using it as a tool to get better? Or is it just a thing you can have on your shelf so you feel oh, look, I have this artist, I have this artist, I have this artist. And, there's a completist attitude about collecting things. Comics are infinitely collectible. That's why there are people that have runs of books. Even I have a run of the first, almost all of the first 100 issues of Wolverine, because I got into it at one point and I was like, oh, I need to get all of them. And I don't know, I didn't get them all, but I just got to a point where I was like, what am I doing? it became silly, and now those books are in my mom's basement in Michigan, so I don't even have them here. I don't even look at them, but I don't want to sell them because I have like emotional attachments to them. So it's this weird, like, it's like the Fight Club thing about how, I forget what it was, but it was something like the couch ends up owning you or whatever. I am misquoting that. That book is infinitely misquoted. Anyways, you snowflake. Anyways, that's it. I just wanted to add this at the end. Sorry, I don't want it to seem like I'm just giving you suggestions for books. I'm more just giving you suggestions for the artist. I want you to know about the artist, and I think that they're an interesting visual style, something to be learned from, or something that I learn from, or something that I am inspired by. And if you're not, that's fine. That's fine. You don't have to be into this. That's another thing that, like, I found out when I looked at... I had comments on a previous video, and somebody made the comment about... it was the first episode, and they said something along the lines of the Winterman book, which is Jean-Paul Leon, and I love it, and it was a huge deal for me to buy it because it's expensive, and again, it's probably very rare now, but they were like, oh, it just looks like a bunch of traced art, and I thought, well, that's not for you then. It's like, it's fine. It doesn't have to be for you if you don't like it, but you don't have to come out and tell me, like, I don't give a fuck. Fuck off. Anyways, that's it. Check out Eduard Thöny. Eduard Thöny. Wait, he's German. That's not right.